For a moment, I stood there in silence, unsure of how to respond to this seemingly pleasant older lady offering me tea and cookies after the entire event that I had just seen. However, I managed to gain enough composure of myself to make a response. Uh, yes, ma'am, that sounds delightful. We would love some tea and cookies, I responded, doing my best to keep a smile. Oh, that's wonderful, the older woman, apparently named Rebecca, said. Well, you just sit here and I'll go fetch them. She turned around and began to make her way into a further room into the cottage. Well, now that that's done with, it will take her some time before she finds out that I ate the last of the cookies yesterday, which will give her some time because she'll most likely want to bake a fresh batch. She's quite kind-hearted like that. Honestly, I think she gets it from her father, the long black-haired woman said as she walked back, taking her seat again. Now, that shall give us plenty of time to resume our business, she said, gesturing back to the seat I was in. I took it without complaint. However, Eliza still seemed very perplexed with the situation, unsure of whether to be angry or confused, sad. At this point, she just seemed as if she was rolling a lot of things around in her head. Alice, on the other hand, didn't seem to care at all, going right back to perusing the strange and unusual things you find around this place. Now, young man, I would like to advise you not to take what you've seen into account when considering our business transactions here. I assure you, though I am kind to my daughter, it is because she is my daughter. She is my flesh and blood, born of my very body. The love and kindness that I extend to her will not be granted to you as well. She may be sweet and kindly. You will find, however, I am not so much. Child or not, you will get little in the way of compassion from me. Now, as our business deal is underway, there is a question that has perplexed my mind since you entered here. That being, how exactly you knew about my merchandise, shall we say, she said, lighting a fire on the end of her long tobacco pipe. Okay, I thought. This is probably where the trouble is going to start. Hopefully it won't be too bad to deal with, I thought to myself, starting to scratch at the back of my head. Well, that's a complicated matter, I replied. Basically, you could say it's a stepping stone process of sorts. In order to begin the research we needed in order to fulfill our end objectives, we needed to acquire goods to test and study. And we acquired those goods from a man by the name of Alan Wallendor. Suddenly, her hands gripped very tightly onto the handles of the chair she was sitting on. The expression on her face was all but pleased with the name Alan Wallendor. That loudmouth buffoon is the one who gave you directions to me? Does he think he can simply send a group of children to try to barter in his stead? If that be the case, I assure you, you will have no leniency. My business with Alan Wallendor is done. He nor his associates are welcome here, she said, speaking to me in a very angry tone of voice, but still maintaining a measure of composure while doing it. Please, don't misunderstand, I replied. We're not actually associates of Alan Wallendor, nor are we here to do transactions in his stead. I only really know of Alan Wallendor through my affiliation with his daughter, Alice, the girl you see staring through your collection. Honestly, I'm not a fan of him myself. However, we needed to acquire magical goods in order to perform our tests, and he happened to have them. However, after examining the goods he had in his possession, my good friend Eliza here brought it to our attention that a portion of the goods was simply of a massively superior quality to the rest. And checking into a purchase book that Alan Wallendor kept about his transactions, we drew the correlation that the goods had come from you. And even as foolish as it is, Alan Wallendor had no idea about the massive decline in the quality of the products he was buying. In fact, he was happily ignorant about the lackluster quality until the moment we told him he had been played a fool, in order to get information as to who actually sold him the quality merchandise. Which brings us to the situation we're in now. Now, I'm not going to attempt to lie to you about this. I prefer to be straightforward with people I interact with on a business basis. Our current venture will end up benefiting Alan Wallendor in the end. However, that is not my primary objective. Honestly, if it were up to me, I'd probably leave him out altogether. He's never been too fond of me either. However, his daughter Alice is a much different story. I need to ensure her protection, and unfortunately, Alan Wallendor will just be added into the mix. But I assure you, this transaction is with me and not him. I'm the one who will be providing all the payment for the merchandise that we acquire. It will come from either myself or the businesses that I own. If you do a little bit of checking, I'm sure you'll be able to find the companies owned by the Worthington family, and that our app's assets are quite substantial. So, does that answer all of your questions, miss? I said, crossing one leg over the other as I tried to maintain a calm and pleasant persona. The woman began to look me over once again, occasionally glancing over to Alice, looking about her collection. Her angry expression had mostly faded, back into her normal, seemingly emotionless expression. Okay, she replied. So you are not directly associated with Alan Wallendor and are here on your own business. But that does bring into question exactly who I'm dealing with in terms of establishing an ongoing business transaction. There are questions about the nature of who you are that need to be answered. For example, despite the fact that you are a child, your ability to negotiate is far beyond your years. And not only that, you seem to have a curious note when it comes to your standing in moral principles. Your little friend seemed quite upset about the event involving my daughter. And it's to be understood. She is apparently one of a kind-hearted nature, much like my daughter herself. One who doesn't wish to see the suffering of others, and given her own will, would interject. But that brings to question your own actions, as well as your other little friend over there, who seem to do nothing at all, even stopping your other young friend from intervening. All of these things bring into question your morality, the state of your mind and your beliefs, and whether or not I should trust you. Surely enough, you are a child, yes, but if your morality is in question, if I don't understand it, then child or not, there's every possibility you could be quite dangerous yourself, young man. So, why don't you explain it to me? Where exactly do you find yourself in terms of moral alignment? Why should I trust you in business transactions? Why should I trust you at all?